Chapter 3. I removed my heavy brocade dress and hung it up in my wardrobe. For a few moments, I stared at the rich fabrics, all side by side. Papa was spending a small fortune on gowns for me, and I knew it was a financial burden for him. He always gladly bore it, saying it would be worth it in the end, that my marriage would repay the expenses 100 times over, and that I would have the best of everything after I married. Anytime I told him that money didn't matter to me, I was treated to a well-meaning but tedious lecture about how money didn't matter to me because he always ensured I was well taken care of, and finding a husband who could do so after Papa passed on was essential, not only for my well-being, but the well-being of his future grandchildren. I tore my gaze away from my wardrobe, flopped onto my bed, and stared at the ceiling. Papa's snores from the bedroom downstairs reverberated up through the floorboards. Even without the noise, I doubted I would be able to sleep. The Baron's bushy face kept popping into my mind's eye, leering unpleasantly at me. How long until Papa accepted an offer like that? He at least knew me well enough to deduce that I hadn't liked any of the previous suitors. But I also had no intention of telling Papa about Rhys, when I didn't even know if he shared my feelings. I heard a soft tapping at my window and rolled out of bed. Rhys crouched behind a shrub outside, throwing pebbles up against the glass, pale face illuminated by the full moon. I unlatched the window. "Come out!" Rhys called in a stage whisper as soon as I had swung the pane outward. Shh! If Papa heard anything, he would tell me to go to sleep. How would I get down? Papa's room was at the bottom of the stairs. He was sure to hear the creaking stairs, even through his sonorous sleep. Wait just a minute. I ducked my head back into my room again. I couldn't go out in my thin dressing gown, especially if I was going to be climbing down a rope or something. My work dress lay draped over the chair beside my vanity. That would do. Rhys never cared about what I wore. I wrenched it on and returned to the window. For a moment, I couldn't see Rhys. "Down here," he hissed. I looked straight down. Rhys was pressed against the ivy-covered wall of the house, looking furtively from side to side as if he were a stealthy hunter. I stifled a laugh. Rhys, tall and gangly, with the whitest skin of anyone I knew, was far from inconspicuous. His face shone like a beacon in the dark. "Come on!" I scoured my room for some way to sneak out through the window. Papa would have a heart attack if I used one of my gowns for a rope and damaged it in the process. Rhys's voice floated up, somewhat muffled, from below again. "What?" I poked my head back out of the window. "Jump! I'll catch you!" I eyed him skeptically. It wasn't as though I doubted Rhys's resolve to catch me. I trusted him, but not necessarily his thin, spindly arms. I slid my legs out to sit on the sill. It wasn't a long drop, but I still didn't want to take any chances. I turned over to lie on my stomach and let my body slowly descend until I was holding onto my windowsill with only my hands. "Ready?" I choked out. "Ready!" I let go. The fall wasn't nearly as lengthy as anticipated. Rhys caught me almost immediately, but staggered under my weight, and we both tumbled to the ground. Anxious about Papa waking up, I scrambled to my feet and heaved Rhys upright again. "Let's go!" We took off into the night, elated with our rebellion. Once we made it beyond the town to the hill where we spent so much of our time, we stopped running. Poor Rhys puffed loudly as he gasped for breath, limping heavily. I pulled him to a standstill, where he doubled over, hands on his knees, and panted. I heard him struggle as he fought to pull air into his lungs. I placed my hand on his back and rubbed softly. "Breathe." It was several minutes before Rhys recovered and straightened up. From the light of the full moon, I could see his face darken to pink. "That was embarrassing. I can't even run well. Some grand escape that was." I laughed. "Who cares? We made it!" I spun on the spot, reveling in my freedom. As long as I made it back before Papa woke up, he would never know. I turned back to Rhys. So, what inspired this daring escapade? Usually you go to bed early. Rhys scuffed the toe of his worn shoe against the grass and shrugged, looking down at the ground. His white blonde hair seemed like a beacon in the dark. Seemed like a busy day for you. Thought you could use a break. I bumped against him. You know me better than anyone else. Are you sure you're all right? I know even walking can be painful for you, and you just ran. I eyed him suspiciously. Rhys always did his best to avoid showing that he was in pain. He flashed a grin. Being able to walk pain-free is a blessing. Being able to walk without showing the pain is a skill, and one that I am rather adept at. He waggled his finger at me. Don't think you can coax all my secrets out of me just with your pretty face. I shoved his hand away and wrinkled my nose. I just worry that you're in pain all the time. Hurting all the time, yet also good-looking and fabulous all the time. Shall I tell you every time I am handsome, too? Yes, please. Rhys always knew how to make me laugh, and I admired his constant courage in the face of chronic pain. Well, I am handsome now. And now, still now. I threw my arms around him. Okay, I get it. You are devilishly handsome all the time. Rhys returned my hug, swinging me around a little before he staggered and let go of me. He flopped down on the soft grass, clearly still worn out from our run, and shifted around, trying to find a spot that was comfortable for his back. He lifted his face to the night sky. Do you know the story of the Laris constellation? He pointed upwards. I lay down beside Rhys and observed the night sky, which burst with stars, all alive and twinkling down at us. Some stars burned bright yellow, others a dull, rusty red. Papa didn't believe in the old traditional tales of the ancient gods, so I only ever heard the legends from Rhys. No, I don't. Which one is it? The one that looks like the goddess Laris. He traced the constellation in the sky. I put my head next to Rhys's, followed his gaze, and was just able to visualize a woman's outline, with an arm outstretched to the side. I see her now. And right there. Rhys took my hand and drew in the sky where the woman's hand was. Is the eternal flame. I snuggled up against Rhys and laid my head where his shoulder connected to his chest, and heard his heart beating rapidly beneath my ear. Tell me the story. I lowered my hand from where it had pointed at the heavens, but continued to hold on to Rhys's fingers, massaging them as I always did after he spun gold, hoping against hope that he would assume my intentions were simply to provide relief to the chronic pain in his hands, as opposed to my selfish desire to keep holding his hand. Rhys wrapped his other arm around me and lightly ran his knotted and crooked fingers up and down my bare arm. A thrilling tingle sprang up at his touch. It was the perfect summer night, with flickering stars scattered across the clear sky, the air still balmy and warm, but a cool breeze hinted at autumn coming. Rhys began, After the god Amir created the world, the other gods and goddesses came together to create life as we know it. The weather and oceans, plants and animals, humans, everything. For many years, everything stayed in balance. The mortals existed on earth, and the gods ruled from the heavens above. But then, one of the goddesses, Laris, fell in love with a mortal man, Taran. She began to visit him and became acquainted with the mortals he lived with. She had compassion for them and their humble lifestyle, and wanted to bestow upon them a mighty gift to show Taran how much she loved him. So she journeyed to the underworld to retrieve fire. The voyage was a long and difficult one, across seas of lava and freezing plains, but the thought of Taran sustained her as she traveled. When she arrived at the center of the earth, where all the fire was stored, Amir stood there, blocking her path. He told her that it was against the law of the gods to give fire to the mortals, because it would make them too powerful. With fire, they would be able to become stronger, forge weapons, and challenge the very gods who created them. Amir told Laris that if she gave fire to the mortals, she would be stripped of her powers, never to return to godhood. Laris knew Amir would never knowingly allow her to take fire to Taran and his people, so when Amir turned away, Laris swallowed a mouthful of the eternal flames. She traveled back to the mortal world, with the fire burning inside her all the time, which couldn't destroy her because she was immortal. When she finally came back to the world's surface, and Amir departed, she returned to Taran's village, exhaled the fire, and gave it to the people. When Amir discovered her deception, he revoked her godhood and cast her out of the heavens to live a mortal life. Laris didn't care, because then she and Taran were finally free to be together, aided by the power of the eternal flame that never died. Since Laris had held the eternal flame inside her for that short journey, Amir wasn't able to take away all of her powers. It is said that their descendants all possess magic, and are fairies that have the ability to grant magical gifts and blessings to others on rare occasions. But because Laris was dually cursed with mortality, any magical gift her descendants bestow also comes with the accompanying curse. Rhys finished the tale and continued to stroke my arm. The cool breeze made me shiver slightly as I contemplated the story. "Do you believe that?" I asked quietly. "I don't know," Rhys conceded. "I haven't heard any other explanation for our circumstances, so I supposed it is plausible. I don't know where else the fairy of the Dark Wood Mountain would have gotten her magic. Who knows if gods and goddesses truly exist?" I burrowed deeper against Rhys's side. I don't like the concept of immortal beings with unlimited power having control over my life, but I liked that story otherwise. Rhys rolled so that he faced me, nearly blocking out the moon as I gazed up at him. "One day, you and I will have control over our lives. I know it." I smiled wistfully. "I don't have it so bad. Papa means well. It is you I worry about." I propped myself up on my elbow and reached out to turn over Rhys's hand. I gently touched the scars across his palms and fingers, which were inflamed and stiff again, and began massaging his hands. A few years ago, he'd taught me the best method to help alleviate the pain, and I enjoyed having the innocent excuse to touch him, firmly putting pressure at each of his joints in turn, and tracing the hard nodules that rose above his knuckles. "We will find a way to free you." "And on that day, you will be free too," Rhys countered. "Free to marry whomever you want, no matter what your father says." "Assuming whomever I choose would want me back, that is." "Meg, every man who knows you wants you." "Even you?" As soon as the words left my mouth, I wished I could retract them. I meant them to be a joke, but I hadn't concealed the hope in my voice. I didn't want to jeopardize my friendship with Rhys by confessing the secret feelings I harbored for him. What would it avail if he knew how much I cared for him? Papa wanted me to be happy, I knew that, but he wouldn't want me to marry a penniless orphan boy. I supposed I could tell Papa about Rhys's ability, to make him seem like a more suitable match, but I would never betray Rhys's confidence and let him be taken advantage of in that way. "I could think of worse things in life than being married to you." I playfully swatted his shoulder. "You are going to woo away many hearts with romantic flattery like that." "How about we make a deal? If you are ever forced to be engaged to some prat that you hate, tell me, and we will run away and get married before your wedding. After all, you can't be married to two people. Once it is done, what could your father do?" I looked at him, my breath catching. Did he mean it? There was no trace of a joke in his expression. He was perfectly serious. The moon illuminated his pale face, which was only inches away from mine, his look so intense that it smoldered. My heart fluttered and rose up to pound in my throat, so I was barely able to whisper, "You promise?" "I promise." He reached into his vest pocket and withdrew a thin golden band. I let out a tiny gasp. Rhys was holding a ring, intricately braided, with all the miscellaneous golden strands he had squirreled away for the last months, the meager payment for his daily torture. He slipped it onto my ring finger, but my finger was too small, so he moved the ring onto my right thumb instead. He had really put a lot of thought into this. It wasn't some random promise that would be forgotten a day later. My brain couldn't process what was happening. I had convinced myself for so long that I was the only one who felt that way, who felt attracted, that it still felt surreal. "Are you serious?"
"Meg," he replied solemnly, "I've been serious about you for a long time. I just don't have much to offer. If you don't want me, I would completely understand."
"You are perfect for me." I bit my lip, suddenly shy from the frank conversation I had dreamed of having for so long, but still simultaneously thrilled that we had finally voiced our feelings. He inclined his head toward mine, eyes focused down on my mouth. He glanced up once in a silent inquiry, then closed the short distance between our lips. I had imagined so many times what it would be like to kiss Rhys, but this exceeded all my expectations. My body felt flooded with light and pure happiness. Rhys's fingers caressed my sides, then moved up to my face, leaving a trail of intense awareness in their wake. In response, I slid closer to him and eagerly kissed him back. I wanted to fix this moment into my memory forever. No, it was more than that. I never wanted to leave Rhys again. We belonged together. He understood me in a way that no one else did, and perhaps ever would. I couldn't lose him. I didn't want our kiss to ever end.